I wanted to give you an overview of really what you need to know when it comes to your new client pipelines. We're going to deep dive on a specific area, understanding where your lead generation quadrants come from. This is the first ever Your Practice Mastered Academy, YPM Academy. MPS, why don't you talk a little bit about why we're doing this?
We've worked with lots of law firms that work with both marketing agencies, lead generation agencies, and what we often found was that law firms were doing a good job of generating the leads because their agency was solid, but then they were having a difficult time figuring out what to do next, right? How to take and convert those leads. Then once you convert the leads and get them to set an appointment to show, to hire and retain the firm, then what? And so how do we serve those clients? How do we get paid? And how do we make sure we're profitable while all of that is happening? And so this was born to be able to walk law firm owners through how to do just that.
When we run into law firm owners, we find that their acumen as a lawyer or a professional in their practice area that they're in is at the highest level. But there's been no formal education as to how to be a small business owner. They've never been trained.
And the other key difference is a mindset shift. And this is tough for a lot of law firm owners, of moving from viewing your law firm as just a practice to viewing your law firm as a business. Part of the reason that shift is so tough is because they haven't necessarily been equipped with the business acumen, knowledge, tools, and resources like they have with becoming a great attorney and a wonderful practitioner of their craft.
The reality is, for most law firms, you don't need more leads. You need to be focusing on converting the leads that you already have.
Because the agencies are generating all of these leads and firms are struggling to convert the leads into appointments. And making sure that we can do that at the highest level, we'll define what that looks like today and why you're likely sitting on a gold mine in front of you.
I built a law firm with my own two hands. That's almost 16 years ago now. And I'm not an attorney. I grew a law firm from two guys in a room with $0 in gross sales and built it $3.5 million in a couple of years. And that's a great story. But then we leveraged that to build a consulting firm. And for the past 16 years, I've been consulting with law firm owners to build a law firm that supported their lifestyle rather than undermine their lifestyle. And a few years ago, my son graduated from college, a successful businessman in his own right, decided to build a side company called The Closing Room, which focused on training sales processes. MPS, why don't you tell them the journey from there?
Started The Closing Room, and the goal was to help convert more of your initial consultations into paying clients. So we would train whoever was in the sales role for a law firm. And as time has evolved in this idea of non-attorney ownership, or non-attorney salesperson, it's become a lot more non-attorney salespeople that we've been training. I've had the opportunity to coach, conduct, or listen to over 5,000 initial consultations. And then you couple that with intake. I've done about the same numbers there on the intake side of things.
Today, what we wanted to focus on is how to start to convert more of the leads that you're already getting without feeling like you have to, one, having the general opinion that there's something wrong with your agency, or that you just have to spend more money on ads to generate more leads.
Leads come in a variety of different ways. Leads come in via phone. That's still, to date, the most common way law firms get leads contacting them is phone. Leads come in via a web form. Leads come in via chat on a website, a live chat. Leads could come in via email. Leads could come in via text, depending on the systems that you've got set up. So there's lots of different ways that leads come into your law firm and lots of different mediums in which that happens.
So my question to you, those of you in the audience, how do your leads come in? Do they mostly come in via the phone? Do they mostly come in via text or through chat? Do they mostly come in through a third-party service? Do they mostly come in via email? Do you have people that walk in the door? What is the way that most of your leads come in? Phone, email, TikTok or social media, whatever. What is the number one thing we absolutely must do to get with the lead? Like, where do we have to, how do you want to communicate with the lead ultimately?
Have to get them on a call.
You have to get them on a call. So even if they came in social media, you can't run this on social media. You have to get them on a call.
You got to get them on a call.
Even if they come in via text, you can't text them. You got to get them on a call.
You could text them, but it's not going to have the same effect. You've got to get them on a call.
They come from traditional advertising like TV, radio, newspapers, yet back in the day, yellow pages, and et cetera. They come from referrals from clients, allied service professionals, or other attorneys. And we have what we call digital advertising. Currently, digital advertising is the single largest space that there is, and it's where most everybody seems to be faulting to, but you shouldn't ignore these other quadrants. And there's many subcategories. From there, you need to figure out who's going to help you make these work. So you can hire your agency. Most of you have come from an agency right now. They said, hey, this might be good information for you to learn. You could build your own in-house team, both in marketing or sales or both. You can develop referral partners, which are going to help you go out there and generate more clients. You can help your clients learn how to become referral partners, and you can develop rainmakers. This is the general flow from generating leads, how those leads are generated, and then we start getting into conversions, right? And so the conversion that we're going to pay attention to is if we start to measure the number of qualified leads versus the number of appointments that set and versus the number of appointments that show, that's going to be where we spend a lot of our time. The two hinges that we're going to pay attention to is this hinge between the leads and the sets, and the hinge between the sets and the shows. MPS, you want to unpack that?
You guys have leads that are coming in, right? They're coming from lots of different formats, channels, and now got to take those leads and convert them and get them to set. And when we say set, what we mean is to take that lead and to set a consult, right? Set a consultation where we're going to run the consultation and get them to turn into a paying client. And so it's our responsibility to develop that intake system or that appointment setting system to take those leads, maximize the number of those that we turn into a set appointment. And then once we get them to set an appointment with us, we've got to get them to show up, right? So then we've got to maximize the systems and the structures that we use prospect to show up to the initial consultation. And that's the intake system that we're going to deep dive on, is converting more of those leads into set appointments and getting more of those set appointments to show up to their consultation.
So if you look at the old-fashioned Eisenhower box, if you're not familiar with, this is basically a model that helps you understand whether you should do something or not. There's the not important, the urgent or not urgent, and then you have your four quadrants, right? If something is not important and not urgent, we don't do it. If it's not important and it's urgent, we need to delegate it. If it's important but not urgent, we need to decide it. And if it's urgent and important, we have to do this now. So my question to you is, when you're thinking about generating new leads for your firm and you're paying attention to maximizing your conversions and getting more clients in the door without increasing more marketing spend or advertising spend and just doing a better job converting those, where does that rank on this? For you and your firm, where are you right now? Figuring this out is a do, is it a decide, is it a delegate, or is it a delete? Where are you at in this firm?
You have to choose that it's important for you to do this. That's the first step. And Rich, to your point, that mindset shift has to be there in order for us to take the next step to do something.
I don't know where everybody's at as far as why they said delegate or why they said do, but let's talk a little bit about the bad stuff that happens if you don't get this right. If we're not converting our leads in this initial stage at the highest possible level, what are the negative outcomes of that?
If we're not converting our leads, if you're spending any bit of money on marketing and advertising, you've basically just taken a match, threw gasoline on that money and just lit it up and blew it out.
And you probably blame the agency for lighting the flame flow.
Hence why we're doing this today. A lot of times the agencies will get the bad rap. The leads weren't good, when in reality, we probably, in many cases, didn't have the right systems to convert them. So there's that. But then, of course, you introduce cash flow problems to the firm. Now you're wondering why you can't get new clients or you're not getting enough new clients. And so you've got this huge pool of leads and you're struggling to get enough of them to set an appointment. And then out of the ones that set an appointment, only a percentage are going to show and then only a percentage are going to hire. And so now you start to run into cash flow struggles with the firm because we're not getting enough people on the top side to even come into the funnel, make their way down. This creates a crunch, and that has its own set of several issues, right, Rich?
The leads, if we don't have a machine to convert the leads at the highest possible level, we never know if we can count on our agency or if it's the agency's fault. We can never really trust when we try new things because we won't know if it's the new marketing thing that we tried that didn't work, or was it our machine that broke down? We will forever be spending more for marketing as a percentage of overall revenue than we should. And we will likely struggle to gain traction in growth at the pace that we should. The bad things that happen to law firms usually comes in the form of stress, overwhelm, wondering why they're not growing, frustration about their current vendors, working late hours, often up till 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night, just trying to get their work done before they have to start all over again on Monday, knowing they've got 12 or 14 hours ahead of them on Monday to get their work, to get through all the clients they have to work with, and maybe get to the leads after. That's usually the stories we hear, and that's the symptoms of not having a great intake system. So today, one of the pieces we're going to teach is this idea of how to have a great intake system. This is what we call the lead conversion machine. I want to paint the picture of the opposite. Let's take like an average firm and plug them through this system. So this looks like about an average firm. So perfect client life cycle today, perfect client life cycle tomorrow. Perfect client life cycle just means qualified leads, how many sets, how many shows, how many hires, what the case value is. Realization rate would be if you're not a contingency firm and you're a firm that has to get paid. That's another conversation entirely. We'll put that in the parking lot for now. This is the reason why you want to pay attention to this. Because if you go, oh, my set rate is 60%, Michael, what do you expect a set rate to be for family law, criminal, estate planning, bankruptcy, fill in the blank kind of firms?
Yeah, usually we're sitting somewhere in the ballpark of 70, 75 to 80, 85%.
Yeah, the really good ones are at 85%. The ones that are average but below, a little below average, are at about 70%. And so I would like to see this be at 80%. In order to get from 60% to 80%, I'm going to have to move this number by about 30%, and that'll get me to about 78%. You can see that I didn't get any more qualified leads. We didn't increase our case value. We didn't increase our hire rate. We didn't even increase our show rate. All we did was go from a 60% set rate to a 78% set rate. And we added on a firm that does $420,000 in gross revenues. We added $126,000 in gross revenues, or took it to $546,000 without making any other changes, just paid attention to the intake. Now, the interesting thing is this is also going to go up. This number right here is also going to go up because you're going to pay attention to intake. This is going to get closer to 77% as well, which means if you fix intake the way we're about to tell you today, you're going to see a better set rate and you're going to see a better show rate. You can see we were at 60%. We went to a 78% set rate. We were at a 67%. You're going to go to a 77% show rate. Can I make these promises to you? How many calls have you listened to and been through the years now? This isn't a question anymore. We know this works, right? So what I would consider a small firm, we could add a very interesting bottom line. Most of this floats right to the bottom line, by the way, because we're only talking about adding 7 more cases a month. Most firms will be able to handle that volume. Probably 50% as a minimum, likely closer to 70, 75%. So somewhere between 70 and 100% of that money is going to float right to the bottom line, which then you can use to reinvest into your firm. You can hire an associate and take over for you to do the legal work. There's a lot of things you can do. I appreciate everybody. MPS, anything else you want to add?
I think we're good. Appreciate you guys spending some time and investing it here with us today, and hope you walked out a little bit stronger on the intake side of things and feel more confident about what that looks like or what that could look like. That's okay.
Peace, everybody.